Welcome back to the MOOC on social entrepreneurship. My name is Kai Hockerts, and I'm very glad to see that you're back here this week. I was a bit afraid that we might have scared you off with the outline that we have given you last week, in which we suggest that you actually will start a social enterprise during the next 12 weeks. Now, what we have done during the introduction week is shown you a couple of social entrepreneurs. You have encountered Anas Möller, who has started a social enterprise called Bangura Bags, which is raising funds for the Masanga Hospital in Sierra Leone. We've also heard from my colleague Esther Barinaga, who is involved in a social innovation project in Sweden, which helps paint murals and thereby bring together communities. And we have encountered Johanna Mehr, the editor of the Stanford Social Innovation View. Now, these different stories have shown you that social entrepreneurship can be used in a number of different ways. And that is actually where the assignment of last week came in, when we asked you what your view on social entrepreneurship is. I very much hope that you did take the time to upload a few ideas of what you consider to be social entrepreneurship, and hopefully you also went back to look in and evaluate some of the submission of your colleagues. As I said earlier on, this is not so much for the final certificate, but more to prime you for the discussions that we will have each week. So if you didn't do it last week, please try to take a bit of time for the future weeks to upload your ideas and have a look at what your colleagues are saying about the assignment of that week. Now, in this week, we're going to start off with a discussion of our students talking about the question of definitions. So we can listen in a little bit on what they consider to be social entrepreneurship and how these views contrast with each other. After that, I will give you a number of definitions of social entrepreneurship and show how they differ and why that is important. Following that part, we will have a number of guest speakers. First of all, we will have Alan Barlow from Cambridge talking to us about his view on social innovation. And we will have Jeffrey Robinson from Rutgers University in the US talking about community ventures. Following that, I have a particularly interesting project that is close to my heart, which is the 7-Day Project. Now, if you don't have much time this week to watch videos, please do make sure to look at the 7-Day Project video. I believe this is the most important part of this week. In the 7-Day Project, we ask you to join together in groups, together with other MOOC participants, and to raise funds for this social entrepreneurship MOOC. The funds afterwards will be invested in the best business ideas that are developed in this MOOC. So even if at the moment you don't plan to start a social enterprise, please join one of the groups and help to raise funds, even if it's a small amount of money, for the business plans that will come out of this program at the end. After the 7-Day Project, what we're going to do is we're going to introduce you to next week's assignment. I'll talk a little bit about two organizations called Ashoka and Unlimited, both of which work with social entrepreneurs. However, as you will see, they have different visions of what a social entrepreneur is. After that, we'll have short interviews with people from Ashoka and Unlimited to give you a first-hand view on how they approach the question of social enterprise. And as always, I hope that you will find some time to do your assignments online to give us a view on which of the two organizations you prefer. But now, let's listen into what our students at CBS have to say about last week's assignment. What is the right definition for social entrepreneurship?
I think individuals could be social entrepreneurs, and I think also social enterprises are organizations that try to achieve social change by applying business tools, and so by using earned income to achieve social goals, I think is what defines a social enterprise. Mm-hmm. But I also agree that individuals without a big organization could be social entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm. So you must need a differentiation between the social entrepreneurs and social enterprises. If we don't have the formal structures, so we have a social entrepreneurs. If we have formal structures, then could be a social enterprises. What do you think?
I think that, well, it's different how we label, as you mentioned. It's all one of a big pot. of people who sees problems and want to create change, and we're just defining which level we're at. And I'm not sure that I would call the individual a social entrepreneur. It depends on what they're doing, but that for me is also a definition of the word entrepreneur itself. So when are you an entrepreneur? And I don't agree that you're an entrepreneur just because you're generating some income or doing something in the local society. I think that we need to really, to be an entrepreneur, you need to do something that's innovative, something that's new, which we haven't really seen before, or in a new context. So a new way of creating change. And that's both for a normal entrepreneur, but also for the social entrepreneur. I think what you mentioned for me and my way of defining would probably just be a person with a great what do you call it? Great recognition of what's going on around them, and who has this initiative, the feeling of initiative, and who wants to create change in the local society, but they will probably never reach above that. So they will never move on to be the social entrepreneur starting a social enterprise. Mm-hmm.
Do you not think that this kind of definitions make hassles to the people who don't really want to work well for the society, rather than encouraging them to just continue and recognizing them in
recognition all the way through.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't define them as a social entrepreneur. But I think many of the people who are actually doing these projects don't see themselves as a social entrepreneur. Many people don't even get to thinking about the terms that we use or the labels we put on. They just know that they're doing something because they see a problem and they want to find a solution to it. Mm-hmm. Especially when it's only the individual. And then you get on to the enterprises where you have the more organized structure, and then you start recognizing that we have roles, we come together to create the strongest team to actually reach more people and hopefully have a greater impact. Mm-hmm. And then you also have the full structure, support structure for these enterprises as well, where you have the full funding, for example, where we discussed the whole unlimited and Ashoka who goes in and for example, in Ashoka's case, pick out someone, mm-hmm. a fellow, and say, we can really see that what you're doing will create change. So this we want to support, so you don't have to worry about everything else in the world. Now we give you the funding, go spread this out.
When considering definitions for social entrepreneurship, we need to consider two dimensions: the mode of social entrepreneurship and the level of analysis. First, let's consider the three levels of analysis. At the individual level, social entrepreneurship refers to social entrepreneurs who are defined as people using entrepreneurial spirit to achieve social change. At the organizational level, social enterprises refer to organizations that employ business tools to achieve social goals. And thirdly, at the interorganizational level, social impact investors and social incubator networks provide capital and advice to social entrepreneurial startups. Secondly, we can differentiate two modes of social entrepreneurship. The social enterprise mode refers to the foundation, management, and growth of social enterprises. In everyday practice, we would consider an entrepreneur to be a person who starts or runs a small business. Thus, if you open a bakery, you would be considered an entrepreneur. Following this logic, the founders and managers of small social enterprises can be considered to be social entrepreneurs. The second mode of social entrepreneurship is called the social innovation mode. It draws on the work of Joseph Schumpeter. Schumpeter says that it's not enough to start your own business. Actually, to be an entrepreneur, you have to identify a previously unexploited opportunity. Accordingly, the social innovation mode is considered with the discovery and sustainable exploitation of opportunities to create public goods through the generation of disequilibria in market and non-market environments. In the social innovation mode, we thus require three things: the discovery of previously unidentified opportunities to create public goods obliges social entrepreneurs to be inventive. The sustainable exploitation of this opportunity requires that they find a financially viable business model that allows them to support the idea financially. And finally, the generation of disequilibria implies that social entrepreneurs in the Schumpeter sense cause disruption in their market and non-market environments by initiating their peers to copy and replicate their ideas. Let me give you an example here. I'm pretty sure that you have heard of Professor Muhammad Yunus, the founder of Grameen Bank, a microfinance social enterprise in Bangladesh. Professor Yunus has received the Nobel Peace Prize because of his contribution to the area of microfinance. Let's consider this example from both a social enterprise perspective and a social innovation perspective. Did Muhammad Yunus receive the Nobel Prize because he started, managed, and grew a social enterprise called Grameen Bank? I don't think so. In my opinion, he has been awarded the prize because so many people around the world have been inspired by his work. The Grameen Bank model has been copied and replicated in numerous countries. Today, for-profit banks such as Deutsche Bank or Societe Generale have invested in microfinance. At the same time, the microfinance idea has revolutionized development organizations such as the World Bank or Danida, the Danish aid organization. Muhammad Yunus has both started a social enterprise and kicked off a global social innovation. However, keep in mind that you do not actually have to do both. Not all social enterprises are innovative, and not all social innovators start social enterprises. Let me give you an example of why the difference between social enterprise mode and social innovation mode matters. In the 90s, the environmental activist organization Greenpeace developed an environmentally friendly refrigerator technology called Green Freeze. The East German manufacturer Foron developed a prototype, and by advertising it, Greenpeace helped Foron receive 70,000 pre-orders. Foron quickly became the poster boy of German social enterprises. It had a revolutionary new green technology. It created jobs in a region of Eastern Germany with high unemployment, and it had a financially attractive product. However, when Greenpeace put the Green Freeze technology into the public domain, many competitors followed suit, and Foron eventually went bankrupt after it had lost its major differentiation advantage. Today, over 300 million refrigerators use the Green Freeze technology. They have been sold in Europe, Asia, and South America by leading brands such as Whirlpool, Bosch, Haier, Panasonic, LG, Miele, Electrolux, and Siemens. Should we consider the Foron story a success or a failure? From a social enterprise mode point of view, Foron has failed. From a social innovation mode perspective, Green Freeze has transformed a whole industry. So you can see that there is quite a difference between the social enterprise point of view, which is focused on a specific organization, and the social innovation point of view, which mainly wants to transform industries and get other people to copy and replicate your ideas.